Oh,
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to, I'll call it that. I think it's official episode. Welcome to the 591st episode of the GeekVerse podcast. I'm the eggnog cut, Travis Snell, and I'm joined by,
I'm Griffin Ryder, Kirkland Batzer.
I can fully admit it's not the best name, but I've just decided that I'm just trying to work in eggnog as much as I can in the December
It works
season,
for Snyder. Come on. There might be
Yeah,
a
that's
Snyder
the
Rebel Moon
best.
cut once all the parts are out, right? Like the fucking 10-hour edition, just
there
one
is,
movie.
Yeah, because there is already two cuts that are coming out after the original cuts, right?
I was joking around, but no.
So you have?
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't know this?
I did not know
We
that.
talked about this. So we have
We
this
probably did.
one. Yeah, you probably forgot about it. You just cycled
Out on the
it out.
mind. A couple exams this week. It's been
Yeah.
a brain fluff week.
Yeah. Also, when you start your overalls, I got to feed my dog. She's looking at me. I completely forgot about that.
Just staring at you. Like,
Yeah,
what
kind
the
of,
fuck?
but
Did
like
you just
more,
hit start?
more just annoyed. But yeah. Oh no, 3-hour cast. He's never gonna feed me. What was I gonna say? No, because there's this cut, and then there's gonna be the 3-hour plus cut that's rated R. And
Just for part one?
Just for part one.
Holy fuck.
And then there's part two, and then there's a part two cut as well. So, which may or may not get into some cons people have with this movie. I don't know. We'll see. But here we are about to review Rebel Moon. You can go back. We've reviewed not every Zack Snyder movie, but every Zack Snyder movie that's not 300 or Guardians of the Owls of Ga'Hoole or whatever the hell it's called.
I love that title.
We will one day, because we're definitely doing Rebel Moon part. Like we'll see. We'll talk about when Director's Cut comes out, because Taya's on that, so maybe we'll rope him for that. We'll see what happens here. Depending on this, maybe we both hate and we're like we're done with Rebel Moon. Who knows? But yeah, you go on the feeds. Aquaman review, Game of the Year editions, a good newscast, lots of stuff up there. There'll be some content dropping next week, but the X-Men retrospective. But there's lots on the feeds right now, so enjoy that over the holiday seasons. We hope you have a good holiday and Christmas and whatever, even if it's just time off. It's a good thing. And yeah, everything you need to know is down below. The patrons, thank you to Patreon producers: April Braden, Aaron Rain, April Darkness, Joshua Wright, Jack Grant, Muds. It'd be great. I gotta talk to Aaron, because I haven't. I gotta ask me as a Discord, because I feel like we haven't heard from him in a bit. We did
busy
us
guy,
watch
maybe.
along. Yeah, he is a busy guy, but on Letterboxd he's watching movies. So, and that's my plug for go check out the Discord, where it's literally a civil war between the Discord of Saltburns, literally just Taylor and Clay. But it was a great back and forth, where Taylor dropped the 2-star, and then April came with the 5-star, and I loved every second of it. So it's good. Kirkland will be weighing in soon. But yeah, Golden Geeks.
Yeah.
We're gonna have 3 Golden Geeks coming up: MCU, a DCU goodbye, and the regular. So lots of stuff coming up. I haven't even. Did you watch the? I imagine you did. Did you watch the What If episode today?
No, I didn't watch that.
Yeah,
yet.
no, me either. So I'll probably watch a couple of those.
I'll probably watch it tonight, yeah.
Yeah, but we're here to review Rebel Moon. So if this is your first time with us, we do a non-spoilers portion. So if you're someone that's maybe waiting for the director's cut, if you're going to wait for all parts, whatever it may be, we will go probably about 15, 20 minutes, just giving our overall recommendations, a general vibe, and then we'll take a little break, and you will get the spoilers edition and stuff. So, yeah, Kirk, what do
you
you
tossed
think?
it to? Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm tossing it to you. So
I think it's been a while since we've done just a 2-man review, the two of us. Like, we've done quite a few of them in the past. Slenderman, Triple Frontier,
Everything Everywhere.
Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's right. So even Euphoria, that was a big review that we did, just the two of us.
Yeah,
But
that was a 2-season review.
they don't happen often. It's just every I don't know, once in a blue moon, it's just these events happen. But yeah, here we are for Rebel Moon Part 1, Child of Fire. I will say, I feel like my hype level has been fluctuating. You got your one scooper there. My hype level has been fluctuating leading up to the release of this film. I feel like just the idea of what it was had me kind of percolating for that idea, and then time went on. Kind of forgot about it a little bit until we got that trailer for it, and then I was just super hyped. I really liked that trailer that they released for Rebel Moon. It's just the scale and the world that they're building. I don't know. It was just pumping on all gears for me. I was really looking forward to it. And then I mean, we had Aquaman 2 this week too, so it's just like a lot of content. Plus, like it's been my last week before obviously the winter break, so I feel like it's just been in like the back of my mind. But then heading into it, I don't know, I was really hyped,
Mm-hmm.
as well as even just seeing like some of the early reviews, some of the Rotten Tomato scores. I don't know what it was. It just got me even more excited because especially knowing that we're doing the reviews for it, whether
Mm.
it's reviewing poorly or highly. I feel like it's always going to be a fun time on the review because if it's either like on one side of the spectrum or the other, I feel like it's at least going to be entertaining to talk about. And
Yeah.
I think this movie is definitely fitting that just that criteria there. I did enjoy quite a few aspects of what this movie introduced, and I definitely did not like quite a few movies, or sorry, quite a few aspects of this movie introduced. I feel like um, one of my one of my many cons maybe of this movie is just the it just seems very messy at parts. I
Mm.
really appreciate the scale that they were going for. I think across the board, the world building and just things that they're introducing, I was all for it. I really liked a lot of just the maybe the politics of what's going on. We don't dive fully into just how this whole world works, but I was definitely getting like maybe a little sliver of like how the opening of Dune kind of happens. Like they kind of fill you in a little bit on like
Mm.
just what's going on, who's running what, who are the big bad sort of the world, and that's kind of how this movie starts as well. So I definitely saw some similarities there, and I don't know. I think it had a pretty impressive opening. But where it was losing me was just like the adventure along the way, which of course is like most of this movie.
Yeah.
But I still think there was some good moments for sure. This had a lot of the classic Zack Snyder slow mo stuff in it, and I think it went a little bit too much on the dial there.
This is the
I,
worst offender of it, easily,
yeah,
I think. They're there.
I knew it was coming as well, and like it happens pretty early on in the movie, and it's like okay, yeah, here we are. But then it just kept happening, and I don't even know why I was like surprised at that point. But it just kept happening. I'm like, oh yeah, here we are. He's just slow moing this specific scene. I don't think it needs to have it.
There's like a scene that it's probably about an hour in, and it's not a big spoiler, but we meet Charlie Hunnam's character, and there's a fight that breaks out, and there's a guy that like he gets tossed and he falls on like the bar floor, but it's just like a shot of like his midsection and his crotch landing on the ground in slow motion. I'm just like, why is this in slow motion? I get it when it's the nice, pretty shots. There's some landscape stuff. Like, I'm not the person that goes like, oh, he shouldn't be using slow mo. It's like, no, he likes that style, whatever. And this don't work. But this was really just like a guy's taint, like in slow mo, just
Yeah.
falling, and it's like why right now? Like, there's just this one. I felt like there was a few really odd choices. You know?
Yes, 100%. There was many scenes when it felt like maybe Snyder and crew are just like, this is gonna have such a crazy reaction when people see this specific shot like in slow
Mm-hmm.
mo, and then it happens. And it's just like it does not come across that way. It's just like we're extending this moment when it doesn't really have to be extended. But I don't know. There's definitely some moments that I think it does boost those action scenes. But unfortunately for this one, it felt like it was the more minority the
Yeah.
more minority of the choices there. um where was I? Oh yeah, like the world building stuff. I like the aliens that we came across. It definitely had the certain Star Wars isms. I guess that I bring that up just because I guess this is kind of seen as Snyder's Star Wars
Yeah,
film.
it's an inspiration of that Seven Samurai, Magnificent Seven. It has a lot of those
A lot of
isms in
sevens
here.
in there.
A lot of
Yeah,
sevens, yeah.
everything.
Not David Fincher's Seven with the serial killer movie. Not that one.
What's in the box?
Yeah.
So I really like just some of those things that were introduced, whether it's like the Imperial type characters, like I said, the aliens. We had some cantina type scenes. I guess it was the slow mo one that you already brought up, and
Mm-hmm.
just I don't know, like the little spark of rebellion. I did like maybe on paper of what was there, but like once we actually got onto the adventure, I found a lot of or maybe I should rephrase it. I found myself quite a few times throughout the film just kind of getting bored and also just expecting what was going to happen, and then that's exactly what
Mm-hmm.
happened. It's not really spoilery, but there's a lot of like recruiting in this, and it seems
It's a
very
lot.
very simple, and like we're just bouncing from one character to the next, and it like there's no real like it almost seems like you're watching a show like almost, I'm gonna make like an anime comparison. I feel like there's a lot of times in an anime when a character will get introduced to like another side character, and that whole episode is just like their backstory, and then from that point on, they're a part of the crew. And it
Yeah.
felt like this movie had that for each of our characters, but it's not an anime. It's not like they have one episode to just spend on that
No.
one character, so it just seems so quick and really easy actually when they're just like recruiting everyone, and it's just like, yeah, we're going here to get this person. Okay, that works. And we're going here to get this person, and there's no real like major conflict, it seems, to like get them on the team. So
No.
that was kind of bugging me. And another thing that really stood out to me, which is, I feel like it doesn't really stand out to me unless it's really, really good. In this case, it really, really wasn't. But the score, man. I don't know how you felt, but I felt like this movie had no fucking score. I was halfway through the movie.
Oh, that I liked.
Oh, you did? Okay.
I actually enjoyed it because I thought there was a good balance of in different planets. We had different rhythms going on. Like the original farm planet was like a nice like melody, some guitar, and then later
Yeah.
on we're getting some rock and roll music. That I did enjoy. I
Okay.
liked the score, so I was
There you go.
Yeah.
That's where we deviate a little bit. Because, yeah, I got like halfway through and there's an action scene going on, and it like hit me that I could actually hear some music. I'm like, wait a minute. Like, I feel like I haven't heard anything. And again, like making like a stark comparison amongst like Dune, you know, and Hans Zimmer's score, and how every
Yeah,
track
it's not
in there,
that. Yeah.
every track feels like an alien sound. Whereas this is just, I don't know, when you really, at least for me, yeah, I didn't really hear it too often. I had the sound cranked too, but so that felt very, very flat, like a flat soda, unfortunately for me. But I mean, you saw it differently, so that's good. But
Heard
yeah,
it.
I don't know. I think by the end of this movie, it didn't have me like frothing at the mouth for part 2 by any means. I'm definitely kind of interested in just seeing the wider scale of what's going on, because I mean it is a cliffhanger sort of like we are going into the next part, but it definitely didn't have me let me say that again. Maybe the hype level that I was at entering this film, I'm pretty much there or like lower heading into part 2, which is kind of unfortunate because I didn't have a lot of hype heading into this yeah, leading up to it. But I don't know, I'll say my thoughts before I go too spoilery and just pass along to you.
If you weren't, I got 2 questions for you. If you weren't hosting a podcast, do you think you would still partake in part 2?
I think
it's
so.
like be on your calendar, but you
I
maybe
think
forget
so.
about it and never return to it.
There was a lot of moments while I was watching this film that did you ever see Alita Battle Angel?
No, but I could see just even from trailers.
Yeah.
what
This
you
movie
mean by
reminded
that.
me of that a lot,
Yeah.
and I like that movie like enough, and it ends with like a big spoiler of like you have they're hinting like Edward Norton's gonna be like the villain of the next movie, and we never got that
Edward
sequel.
Norton's in that movie.
Like the very end, like he's shown as
Really?
yeah,
That's
he's shown as
interesting.
this villain. He's like a crazy alien design as well, and I'm
Oh,
like,
that's
holy shit.
cool.
You know, like the movie was,
I gotta
it was
look
like
this up.
higher than a 7 at least. Like I
Yeah.
thought it was good enough, but I was at least excited for that next installment. Never happened. So that, like, just thinking of that comparison, I think I would still be down for part 2
Yeah.
after watching that. It does make it very easy that this is a Netflix release. Like if this was a theater release and you asked me
Yeah.
that same question, I don't think so, because I don't think I would have gone out to theaters, especially like this time of the year, right? Like we're so close to Christmas. I feel like I'm not really going out alone to see this one, because like Shay wanted to watch this movie with me for sure, but it was probably because it was the Netflix release. You know, we were both home, so it made it accessible.
Should watch Rebel Moon, but not Saltburn. You know, come on now, come on.
I'm gonna
I
try
pro-
and work on that with her. I'll keep you
just
informed.
show her Saltburn, but tell her it's Rebel Moon. Just tell it's like it gets the space part eventually, you know. But yeah, that's great. No, I just saw Edward Norton. That's cool. I never heard about that. That still
Yeah.
shows me how many people have not seen that movie. Because you would have thought by now I would have heard someone talk about it or be on my timeline, but never until this very moment. Like, wow, he was in that movie.
What year
Cool.
even is Alita Battle Angel? 2019. Okay, not as old as I thought.
2019. Yeah, I thought it was old. I thought it was like 2017. So 2019, we're about 4 years removed. Yeah, jeez. So
Ed
yeah.
Skrein too. He was in Alita Battle Angel, and he's in
He
this. He's the
was.
noble. That's funny.
Yeah, he was in that. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, I think maybe there'll be like a few differences. I'm sure when we talk like, oh, this scene worked for me, this didn't, kind of like the score. But unfortunately, I think I can't bring like a different. I can't bring a devil's advocate opinion to Kirkland, and I also can't bring like a hot take. I can't bring a take being like everyone's wrong. This is Snyder's best work, or I can be like this is the worst. Like it's all subjective, as our friend Ray says and everything. For me, it's like, and I get it from some people. We always have fun with them, but like Clay, Patreon Clay, he gave this like a 0.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and for me, that's where I also go like. I don't know. Maybe it's because we watched so many movies, and that's why I'm excited for next After 9 to hopefully talk about like 2023, like in retrospective, we talk about movies we saw in December and stuff. Because like, I just feel like it's not anything worse than a lot of other stuff we've seen this year. Like I feel like there's been so many, not even just in year, and even just this week as far as Snyder stuff we've talked about. Like there, and to Clay's credit, he's not seen Sucker Punch, but to me, it's like when people, oh, this is Snyder's worst movie. It's like. Not by a long shot, in my opinion. Like I any day I would take this over Sucker Punch, even though I agree with you. There's times where it's a little slow and boring, but it's odd because like I don't think this is a great movie. I don't know if it's like a good movie, but I didn't like dislike it. I didn't hate it. I definitely think the first half is better than the second half. Obviously it's in 3 parts, but I think the opening first act I was really into. I think there's unfortunately, much like people talk about of like, oh, there's this bigger cut. There is a lot of characters and names just thrown at you real quick. You're like, oh, I'd like to learn more about this connection. I'd like to learn about this. And you really don't. You move along fast. But what I'm going to say is like my review is just based off because I see a lot of people that are, I'm not gonna call them out by name, but I have friends and stuff that like are big Snyder fans and stuff. I'm also not gonna do the whole like, oh yeah, it's not fleshed out, but I'm sure that will be in the director's cut. No, like I'm reviewing this film. The same thing with even part 2. This in a sense like. Because I was on the crossover last week, and Family Clay, he has an issue with Spider-Verse, and I get why he does, but I don't. There's always movies that we had that debate. People had this debate a couple years ago, Dune, right? Like, is it a half movie? Is this movie like, is it a complete movie, or is it so much like a part 1 where you can't watch it alone? I do feel like this movie is that. I don't hate that as much as other people because we know there's a part 2 coming. Like it's literally filmed. We know it's going to be happening in April, so it's not like, oh my god. But it is a film where even like Lord of the Rings, where both Fellowship and Two Towers, Sauron's still out there. They're separated. The ring is not destroyed, but they feel like full, complete meals and movies where I feel satisfied. Where this feels like an act 1.5 of a movie and then it ends. It feels like you made the anime comparison. I'm making the comparison to like a Bethesda game. I've only played Fallout and Starfield, but that you wake up, you meet your main character, and then like the first 3 hours is you meeting different companions and like recruiting them, and then like, hey, go on your mission. Like that's what this movie is. And unfortunately, here's the thing. I don't think it's bad, but I feel like already I watched it last night and I'm slowly starting to forget about it. And that's what I think is the worst thing. That I had said this with Army of the Dead, and I really am curious about part 2 and whatever he does next. Because I've always said this about Snyder, where whether you love it, hate it, or indifferent, I think would always make a movie at least would stand out and cause debate. And I think there's always debate with him because some people love Zack and some people don't. But I just feel like for me, like, and even Army of the Dead I like, but between Army of the Dead and this, I just feel like these are just very kind of just forgettable type of movies. It's not like what, to me, Zack Snyder, Watchmen, 300, even Sucker Punch to me is like not a forgettable movie. Like we all failed that movie, but we all said like, man, they're going, him and the team were going for something here. Like it didn't work, but like it's memorable for what they tried. It just, to me, didn't work out, where this is just, I've seen this movie before a bunch, and there's nothing too special about it. That's why I can't also get on board with people saying, oh, it's one of the worst movies ever. It's like, no, there's movies that do this the same, and it's much worse. I just think it's very just kind of middling. It's very in the road, and that's already not. I'm not talking about other parts or cuts. Maybe I'll see that 3-hour cut and be, man, this was fantastic. But then that's on Netflix, and I know they're trying to do this whole like to retroactively like start a Snyder cut thing again, but it's not going to work that way. And for what I'm curious, I was going to ask you about this too. Is like, I just feel like general audience people are going to watch this and now be kind of disconnected. Like I that's where I don't think it's terrible or bad, but I don't think it's good enough that's going to make people to come back, because I don't think many of the characters are memorable. I don't think there's any scenes that are like Golden Geek's best nominee. Like we've had tons of movies that we didn't nominate for best picture, but we're like, oh, but that scene really good. I don't have that. I don't have like, and performances are fine, but they're not like, there's nothing like a really big standout one, like how like Alien Covenant, we did not like that movie, but Michael Fassbender got a best supporting nom because like, oh, he was great as David, like there's certain things where it's just like it just is kind of, middling, and that's why I'm worried with Snyder. Is like I just wonder if like I don't know. It just feels like something is different between this and Army of the Dead. It doesn't feel like the old Zack Snyder, where even if I disliked a film, it's like, oh, that was a like good on him for trying this. You know, these just feel like things I've seen before. And Army of the Dead, it's not I've seen before. That just to me was kind of lackluster. So yeah, I just I don't know. I don't know where I am on this movie because I was liking it as I was watching it, but then as it went on, I was liking it less. And then the next day, I'm more sad. I was like, okay, yeah, I really don't know on this one. It's a tough one for me here, but I guess I can just say it's not great and it's not like one of my favorites, and it's like not like a top 25, 30 of this year. Like it's not the event I was hoping it was gonna be.
Yeah,
you know,
especially for what it was promising, right? Like it was introducing a whole new, not even world, like a whole galaxy with like their own politics and just all these different moving pieces. It seemed like this was going to be that big event, especially at the end of the year. It was exciting, but I think it's pretty tragic actually for like what we were supposed to be getting, and then like fast forward. Well, in a few months we'll be watching part 2, but I feel like if we weren't getting that part 2, this would very much fall to the same Alita Battle Angel criteria, you know, that like I've seen that movie, but I have not revisited that movie, and I don't remember many of the scenes in that movie. I don't really remember the villains. I'm pretty sure the same villain that was in this movie was in that one, and because you're talking about Golden Geeks, and like even the villain, like I think he's okay as his role, but I still wanted like a bigger bad, you know, and
the bigger bad that we have, I'm not digging at all.
No, not at all.
Because they're supposed to be like this, like we'll get into full spoilers, but they make it like this big build up, and I was like, oh, who's this actor gonna be? I'm very curious. It's like, well, we're gonna turn around, and then it's like, oh no, it's just this guy that they showed earlier, and I'm like, I'm not enjoying this. And I agree with you. Like I like Ed Scarin. Like I think he does like a good job with what they give him. He's not in it too much. He's playing like a very generic Nazi Christoph Waltz type of bad guy, but like I think he's doing that well enough. And I do actually like Sophia Patel, like I guess to get some like overall positives, like I like her a lot. She's never been in a leading role, and I think she's good here. I think some of this, it's tough because I think she's good, but then I think the back half of the film she kind of disappears because it's just them recruiting a bunch of people, you know. I like the first act a lot and her setup, and I wanted to see more of that. Maybe there's more in the next part, but with this I just felt she kind of goes in the past. It sucks because it's only in there a little bit, but he's all over the posters and the trailers. But I really, really was enjoying the Anthony Hopkins character, the android or robot. I was like, oh, this is really cool, and I'm excited to see where this goes. Spoilers, it's 5 to 7 minutes of screen time. Like it's more of a setup for what's to come, and I was really digging that. I always like Charlie. It's tough. I always like Charlie Hunnam. I like him in this movie, but again, it doesn't feel like there's enough of him. It's very surface level. I like his performance, but that's just him being charismatic, and that was a character I really, really wanted a lot more of. And it feels like sometimes when, again, back to the fault thing, when you get a companion and then, or even Knights of the Republic, and then you don't check in on them for like a couple days, and you go back, you're like, right, you're on my ship. Like, how's it going? Charlie Hunnam is like, oh, good. I don't want this life anymore. It's like, right, that's why you're here. Okay, like it just feels like, and the other comparison I have to this, and that's where it does come into like there's a different cut, is it feels like when you play a video game for the second time and you skip the cutscenes. So it's like you know the story a bit, but you're just skipping all of them, and then a character says something, you're like, oh right, that's what's going on. That's what this feels like, where there's just should be so much more, even though I also think I know he wants to do like Seven Samurai. I think they should at least cut a few of these characters out for sure.
100%. That's what I was gonna say, because I feel like if we lose a handful of them, we can just spend so much more time of actually knowing them and like getting attached to them, and then like having a certain stake when they're in like a war type situation, and like we don't want to lose these types of characters. But I feel like like if 3 of them just get murked in like one scene, I'll be like, who are they again? Like I don't know. I think
even this movie we meet somebody and then he's gone pretty quickly, and I'm like, oh
yeah.
Hey.
No, it's true. And like that was a big name, or like a big character name at least, for like the story wise, right?
And it was built up like, oh, this is an important character, and then it's like, especially the way they go to, it's like, okay, like
I was kind of shocked in that moment.
Like you're not gonna get this. It's not spoiling anything, but it's just like this important character gets killed by like a pistol. You're like, Oh.
Fucking grunt one takes him out.
Like for like a kill that didn't feel too necessary. Like I get why you did it, but it's like you couldn't have just thrown the weapon. Like yeah, it's odd. And again, I know someone might go, oh yeah, well in the next cut, this character has a lot of time. Doesn't matter. This is a movie they put out. This is a movie that Netflix thought was a good idea. And I think retroactively it will kick them in the ass because I think there's a lot of people that aren't like us that'll see this and go, I've seen a bunch of sci-fi movies before. Like when you have Dune coming out, like Dune will be out in March and then this will be out April. I think you're right that of course this helps because it's on Netflix, but like I think this is enough of it's all right for people to skip a part 2 and maybe never come back to it. You know, that's what I think is kind of a shitty thing. And who knows, maybe we'll still watch that 3-hour cut and be like, oh, this is also just still not good, right? It doesn't matter. That could be the excuse, right? Of, oh, we got a cut and it's like an alternative thing. It's like, that doesn't mean anything till I see it. But even then you get one chance to get people in the door. And it's not like the Snyder cut where that's Justice League, Batman, Superman. Like those are big characters that people care about, right? Now, I don't think this movie gave you enough chance to care about these characters in them. So and then plus those are like iconic characters, right? So it's like very, very different situation.
No, absolutely. And it, like, just speaking of like that extended cut thing, I don't think there's any one thing that they gloss over that would be like, okay, it's pretty obvious that they cut this out, so I would like to see that extended. I feel like just across the board, they cut off like a good, like a small amount on like, especially all the characters that we meet, like just all of that got taken off. So it's tough for me to really like pin on which area I want to extend more, because it's just like I think I need either fewer characters so we can spend more time with the same like runtime that we got for this film, just with those characters, or or just add more time to that. But I don't know. I feel like
the world building's not it. The world building they get the bulk of the time too, and that's like a pro and con for people because like that's a big Snyderism, right? He loves building those worlds. We talk about the Army of Dead where there's stuff that was presented and that was like, oh, that's cool, but there's not enough of it in here. I do think this doesn't suffer from Army of the Dead because Army of the Dead is like, oh, there's a robot thing, there's a this thing. This is like, okay, this is all about the world building, but again, the world can be cool, but if I don't care about killing the characters, villains, etc., why do I care what's happening in this world? You know, and even though there are some characters I kind of care about, it's just that where am I going to feel in a couple months? I guess like it's helpful that in April it comes out, but it's just that I guess that's just the biggest thing that I didn't feel the overall that I was invested in it as much as I wanted. You know, I want to be walking away, even have something, but it's just the thing of like I watched this at midnight, where now the next one, like obviously probably for a review I'll watch, but it's not going to be like I'm curious, like I'll be like, I'll catch it in the morning. You know, like I wanted that fever, I wanted something going on, and it just wasn't there.
Unfortunate.
You know? Yeah, but then like I said, I don't think it's awful. So, anything else, Don Spoiler? Would you recommend this to people?
I think if you're curious, like we were, and you do have Netflix, I think it's you could definitely throw it on. It's not. I mean, it is over 2 hours, and there were certain moments when I was kind of bored with it. But I mean, give it a shot. You can always turn it off. It's not like you have to go out to the theaters or anything like that. So
yeah, you just pause at 30 minutes, be done with it, right? Never come back. I watched 15 minutes. I watched 15 minutes of that Gal Gadot movie on Netflix. Never came back to it.
Oh yeah,
I've seen enough. Yeah, that's like that's it.
I always have that 30-minute rule. It's like you can like if you're watching with someone else,
like
if at any point in that first 30 minutes you just are not vibing with it, we could just turn it off and find something else. And but which is interesting because I feel like the first 30 minutes of this film is actually quite interesting when they're introducing to everything. But it's I think it's past that point when I was kind of losing it. But yeah, I would recommend it to we'll take our Netflix viewers. Did I delay there?
To Netflix viewers, yeah. I think for me, it's like if you like sci-fi and you like Snyder, check it out and see. But I wouldn't be recommending this like my mom or anything like that. I'm not like you gotta see it. You know, it's not like Dune where I'm like, oh, you gotta go see Dune. Dune's great. Yeah. You know, so
no, that's a big difference there. Because for Dune, I found out there's people. I found this out yesterday. I was talking to people in my class. Many people have not even heard of Dune. They haven't heard of the movie Dune or like the book of Dune, which was kind of shocking to me because I just thought that was such a big movie event. I'm like, you got so many powerful actors, and there's Zendaya, Timothée Chalamet. Like, come on, people. And they're like, dude, like, what's it about? And then like, if people are if they have to choose between one sci-fi movie to see in their entire life, I would say Dune over this.
Yeah.
100 times. Yeah.
Not Star Wars, eh?
Ooh, I think. That's a good one. Ooh, maybe like Star Wars is just so soured recently, like in my brain.
Yeah,
so
don't think about that. I'm
obviously,
saying go back to the classics,
but like if it's like you got that ticket for IMAX, are you seeing the original Star Wars? Or are you throwing on Dune with the fucking Hans Zimmer score? Hey, yeah.
I don't know because I love Dune, but Dune doesn't have Han Solo in it, and I love as much as I love Dune. There's no character as
Yeah.
great as Harrison Ford's Han Solo. You know, like
No, you're right.
Like, sorry, like
I think if I
love
really
Chalamet,
stewed
but-
on it for like the movie itself, I would probably have to pick Star Wars. But I'm such a glutton for just like eye pleasure, and that's what Dune is. As long as well as ear pleasure, I'll say.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna take our first break, and we'll be back, and we talk about spoilers. All right, so let's get into this. We'll probably start, at the beginning as usual. But so we meet. What was her name? Cora, right? That's her name.
Cora, yeah. I don't remember
Cora,
what her,
yeah.
her
So
actual
Sophia
name
Boutella.
is,
She's some sort of. Sophia Boutella is her real name. Oh, right, the actual name, right? She has some
Atreides or
who
something like
knows?
that.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, Han Solo.
Not important.
Yeah, Atreides Solo. Everyone's like, wait a second, is he just ripping off both these things? She's I don't know. She's some seed planter. She's like moving rocks. I didn't really
She's
understand
a farmer.
her job. It does.
She's
a farmer. I
plowing
know,
the
but like,
fields, right?
okay, and that's why she moved the rock. Okay, cool. Like whatever. How did you feel? Because I've seen this talked about. What did you feel about the landscapes in this movie, like the CGI and the planets around, and just even in general?
I think in general it was working for me. It was working for me enough. It wasn't anything to like, again, to be like, man, like just what this world was, it is enough for me to really want to push for a Golden Geeks nom or anything like it. Like it never crossed that point.
Which is
I
strange
think,
for a Snyder film because usually his visuals are like the top tier, like some of the top tier stuff of the year.
Did he do the cinematography for this one? I know he did it for Army of the Dead,
I don't
right?
think he did. Yeah, I didn't like his Army of the Dead, but I don't think he did.
Oh, okay. I think.
Are you? Am I delayed for you? Or are you? Is there something? Because I feel like you're a little delayed for me, but I don't know if it's my Wi-Fi or your Wi-Fi.
I'll close some tabs here. I'll see what's going on.
Creighton is watching some Dune porn on the side. He's watching Dune right now as we speak.
That's all the comparisons. Let me know if I'm still delayed, but you sound good for me, so it must have been my
Okay,
end.
I'll let you know in the private chat.
There you go. There's a couple times when we were talking over each other, so I was curious what was going on. Curious. But for the world landscapes, I think for the majority of it, I thought it was like a 7.5 out of 10. Like that's pretty good. It's I don't know if I would say it's great, but it's pretty good. That opening shot, wasn't a fan of it. Just like the super bright background of the Jupiter like planet. I think it was a cool idea of just again, like you're in this different planet that has a complete like just what it would be like to have a planet that close to our planet. Like I think I like that idea, but just the way that it was working when we had different characters talking like in front of that landscape was a little bit iffy, and especially like that village. I don't know what it was. The village didn't look bad, but I feel like in that moment it looked quite bad, like in the background. Probably just because it was like a more nighttime shot with the planet in the background there, and I don't know if this is like Zack Snyder always does this, but there's always this like. At least I've noticed in the last few Snyder films I've seen, because I noticed it in Sucker Punch as well. But they do this like blur effect like around the screen, and I don't know if that's just to hide the CGI.
No, he used a little bit of Sucker Punch, but he used it a lot in Army of the Dead. It's this thing called a Dreams lens. I don't like it really. Yeah, I think he really spammed it a lot in Army of the Dead, so I feel like it was a little less here. But yeah, I don't like the Dream lens multiple times. I'm not a fan, but I'm sure not a fan. Is.
Yeah, he is definitely a fan of it.
Yeah, you're not. I'll tell you what, you're not gonna see any dream lenses in the GeekVerse movies. I don't think so. Maybe for a dream sequence, but that'd be about it.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, Oh yeah, you just asked about the landscape. So yeah, seven and a half. I think it was
CGI
fluctuating
overall
between
too,
that.
you know, 'cause
CGI
there's
overall,
a lot of
I
it.
thought it was pretty good. Honestly, I especially for I don't know what the budget was, but I know the budget was like shared amongst the two films, right? For this one.
I think so, but I think it's a
And
bigger Netflix budget.
okay, I don't know. How's the CGI for you?
I like for the most part I liked it. I thought Jimmy was really great. That character
Jimmy was
was
phenomenal.
like, yeah, he
All
looked
2
like
minutes
he was
in the film,
realistic.
man, he was great.
Yeah, yeah, that's why he looked so good. They didn't spend much money on him, but like, no, he just looked lifelike, which is good because we've seen one that doesn't happen. I think landscapes it kind of would depend on the shot because I liked the idea of that plant being so close, but sometimes it just didn't look like. It just looked like it was a backdrop, but not in a good way. And there was this scene where they had a fire and they were talking, and it was just her and the other guy. And there's something off with the landscapes behind them too, where it's like this just doesn't look like it just looks too CGI. And there'd be a little times where like, okay, there's a ship here and
Yeah.
there, but for the most part, I thought it was passable. It was still good enough for like I didn't have too many major complaints. There's nothing like log truck in here or anything, you know. But
Yeah.
it just wasn't also like seamless. Where there was times where like, okay, maybe this character and this background don't blend completely as I'd want it to. But
I said I was fluctuating between 7 and a 7.5 until I remembered that planet where they like they find what are they called, like the blood axes, like Ray Fisher's character and his sister. Man, when they were flying into that planet, I swear I was watching like an episode of Clone Wars. The like all of the cities in the background, they look like they spend 2 minutes on like Microsoft Paint or something. I'm being pretty hyperbole here, but it's still like it was very, very, very bad. There was like one window on each of these like skyscraper looking things, and they were just like so flat, like one tone. Like it didn't seem like they spent any time really like I don't know, detailing the textures there. So that one was atrocious for me. Luckily, you know, it's not really it's not a major area that we spend a lot of time in, but just as they're flying in, I just couldn't believe how bad that looked in comparison to some of the other things. Because yeah, for the most part, I thought it was pretty damn good.
I will say, I feel like we talk about Sucker Punch. This movie is not that. And I don't think it has those color levels. I will say, like the third act, especially when Cora was fighting Ed Skeirin, I just felt like I had some Sucker Punch, just vibes going on, just certain shots and whatnot. But that's one thing too. I also just feel like action-wise, nothing stood out too much of like a great action scene, which I feel like Snyder usually does too. I think they're all like serviceable. There's nothing bad. Even though I was expecting the scene where she kind of stops the assaulters to be a bit more kick-ass, but there was one time where her and this guy were just kind of pushing each other back and forth. I was like, I don't really know what's going on here. You know, I was waiting for a little more chutzpah there.
And like, I don't know if like the CGI or sorry, the slow-mo is definitely a choice, and it can definitely elevate scenes. You probably don't love it in the Transformers movies. I feel like I like it enough.
I've only seen one, so I don't know.
You've only seen one Transformer movie.
Yeah, I saw, and then I was like, what we talk about Rebel Moon. I saw that first one, which everyone says is the best one. I still went, that's it for me. I don't need any more of these.
You didn't see Bumblebee?
Oh, okay. It's tough. I did see those ones, but I just count like the Bay ones.
The Bay ones. Okay.
Yeah, the Bay one. I only saw the first one, and that was it. I've seen Bumblebee, and I saw the hell, the Argo Beasts or whatever, Rise of the Beasts.
Argo Beasts,
the
Argonauts.
newest ones. Yeah,
The
whatever
Attack
the
of the
fuck they're called.
Argonauts.
They're Transformers. They're gorillas and animals now.
The most recent one with the
yeah,
G.I. Joe
they set up
crossover.
G.I. Joe. Yeah. Where's that announcement?
So yeah, again, it's been a while since I've seen Transformers, but I feel like I like the addition of the slow-mo in, in those ones. In this one, like I feel like it was almost just a way to like mask the fact that they didn't really put a lot of effort into the fight choreography, and that might be harsh, but that's really how I took it, because like that assault scene in the barn, I thought that was going to be like a fucking John Wick moment. Like I was actually really, really hyped leading into
like
that, because up until that point,
scene, here we go.
100%. Like we haven't seen our lead do really anything except for farm up until this point. We don't really know anything about her as well. Like we don't get her backstory.
That's all we know.
Yeah,
she
exactly.
Seems suspicious.
She's just standing there with a fucking hand axe, looking like the Northmen, just ready to like kick ass.
She got fucking ripped for this movie.
She's very lean. Yeah. Oh
her
man,
muscles
her
have muscles. Yeah. She put in the work. Like not that she's like a massive girl, but just like you could tell like in other roles, and then
Athletic,
here it's like, okay,
though.
I gotta look like a warrior here, and like it definitely. Kudos to her, like, and because like a lot of the other people are just wearing really big jackets, so like I don't think they really bulked up too much, you know.
No, it's she looked.
Except Jaimin Hunter too. He got fucking massively. He
Who's
got
that?
big. John Hunter. He's like the general they find. He's
Oh,
in guard.
yeah.
He was
100%.
he was huge, and he's the biggest I've ever seen him.
No, his shoulders, man, when he was standing there, I couldn't believe how big he was. I feel like all of his roles is funny. While we were watching it, Shay was like, man, I don't know why, but this character just seems like he's always the exact same character in all these movies. I'm like, yeah, fair enough. He's usually a pretty close, I don't know, closely the same archetype that he plays in all these movies. And like he's usually showing his arms off at least, like maybe no shirt, but I felt like he ate a previous version of himself. Like he was so huge in those moments, and I don't know, maybe a little underutilized. We don't really see him do too much after that.
Don't go my general.
But what were we? Oh yeah, so back to the barn scene though. Yeah, I was really looking forward to just crazy fight choreography, and it just, like you said, like it was hard to even tell what was exactly going on. Like it was her against at least 5+ of these army men. You know, there's the private guy that switched sides in there, so I guess he kind of joined her team. But for the most part, it was just her against all these soldiers with guns, blasters, while she has his one hand axe. And I don't really feel like I saw too much. And then it's just the scene was over.
And it's not like the John Wick thing where it's like, okay, it's him versus these 20 guys. It is unbelievable, but you somehow believe you get out of it. This was like, how have they not just shot her yet? And it's not because I'm trying to say like, oh, they should shoot this woman. It's that it's like they didn't frame it in a way that she moves fast enough or kicks ass enough. Like there's one where she's kicking ass, and then like the third guy is like already like disarming her. I'm like, what's going on? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
As everyone else is just like aiming their guns at her.
Yeah, like clearly you shoot this woman right. Like they already killed 2 people. It's not like they're worried to kill people. They already killed the 2 most highest ranking people on this planet. So it's just some random woman that they're like, I don't know if we're gonna shoot her. And so yeah, I wish that had a little more of an impact when it happened, because like, oh, this is when it's gonna turn, and that's where now like even the last fight scene with her and Ed Skirn just doesn't. I barely remember anything about it. It just didn't stand out. I knew it was them. They were flipping around that pole lot, and I felt like she kept breaking his arm over and over. And that's pretty much the extent of that scene. And he fell, which was very strange because I was like, hey, he can't be dead. And then they brought him back. He just looked like Ed Skirn, because I thought, oh, okay, I get it. Snyder's doing his Vader thing. He's going to fall, and then next time we see him, he's going to have a suit. He's going to be all badass. They just put him in their version of the BAFTA tank. He looks like he's back to being the same guy with the bad haircut. Cool. And then he fell from, I don't know how far, but like, and that's where maybe that, again, I'm not trying to say that because like there is that radar cut. Maybe that'll be better. But here was like, it just looked like he like fell down some stairs. Like he fell stories down on these rocks. And then when we see him, it's like he has a couple cuts on his face. I'm like, what? Yeah. Like it was super disappointing. It was such a letdown. And we'll get down to what that scene ends up. It's like that was even a bigger letdown. I was like, oh, that whole villain tease I thought was going to get me back in. I was like, oh, not so much here. You know?
For sure. I couldn't. Yeah, no, 100%. I knew he was alive after that because she smokes him in the face with his little beater stick that he keeps using throughout the film, and he just looks limp. Like it looks like she literally one-shot him, and then he's just limp, falls however long, and I assumed that he was just gonna land in the water, but no, he lands on the fucking rocks.
Yeah.
I would imagine he would at least have some intestines out of his body or whatnot, but no, he's just like unconscious there. So that was pretty, and just the whole fight in general, for that to be like the big climax of this movie, major letdown. And there was a little bit of slow-mo in that scene, but it still seemed like one of those scenes that had less of it in comparison to some of the other moments, because like you even shouted out the like the cantina fight scene when the shooters come back, and it's funny, like I just feel like the slow-mo was masking some like just some lazy choreography, and that wasn't even a lot of hand-to-hand combat. It was mostly just shooting, but there's so many moments of her like how the scene starts. Like you have 3 shooters in the front and then one guy behind them and she has a gun on her hip, and then it just goes to the one guy pull up his weapon, it goes like immediately slow-mo, and she just like does a 180 spin.
Yeah.
Shoots the guy, dodges like 100 blazers all around her, and it was just like, man, what plot armor does this character have? And even when we have the flashbacks with her, that's all slow-mo, just blasters going on all around her.
I felt like her slamming that
lazy.
flag down, and her on the mountain, I felt like it was a 30-minute shot. It wasn't, but I just felt like we just kept seeing like Sophia
because of the slow-mo, though. It feels that long.
I like it was kind of unintentional. It's fun. I don't think it's bad. It was just a moment where she's telling her backstory, and like, okay, cool. this movie has lost exposition. Every character, it's literally go to new planet, find character. Hey, what's your story? Well, a couple years ago, and that's a dark tale. Okay, cool. They do something cool, then they're a part of the team. That is the whole
Literally,
last hour of
yeah.
this movie, over and over and over again. And that's where I was like, just cut down again. I know you want 7, but like, cut. You could cut Blood Axe. You could cut Blood Axe's like, it's not even his sister. It's like his like right hand woman. Like, cut her out.
Loyal soldier, yeah.
And I don't give a shit. Like, and I met the guy last week, the guy who plays the guy who was the slave, and the guy that has the hair and the gold tooth, and he's like, oh, you know, they make that
Is
deal
that Charlie
about
Hunnam's
like,
character?
no,
He's
the
gold
guy, no, he has gold teeth. This guy's a gold tooth. He has like the
my
slave.
god, with the Griffin rider.
Yeah. So that
Yeah.
guy, met him last week on Dave's stream. Very nice guy. Ray Porter.
Oh, you met him. Look at that.
he voices Darkseid in the Zack Snyder
Oh,
films and
shit.
stuff like that. So very nice guy. It's I dislike the scene, but I was like, not him. It's not. I would just cut like shirtless guy, like 300 guy. I would just cut. You know, like I just was not. I did not care at all. And who knows? Maybe if I watched it fully with Emily, maybe I'll be like, oh no, that guy's like a hunk. But like, he was there, and then he was just like silent the rest of the movie, and sometimes shirtless again. I was like, what are we doing? Like, there's just
Wait,
so
are
many
you talking about
characters.
Tarek? Like that was his
Yeah,
name, right?
he had to like.
What'd you say his name
mouth-
was?
300 guy.
Oh, okay. No, what was his actor's name though? You said Ray Porter?
No, so I didn't meet the shirtless guy. It was the slave owner guy.
Okay, sorry. I was so confused because I'm like, I don't know how to tell Travis, but that wasn't Ray Porter.
Yeah. No, I swear I met him. No, the slave guy and stuff like
Yes.
it. You know,
Sorry,
and
carry on.
I don't mind that. I like the little bit where he tries to tame the beast and the beast just kills him. But like, there's these characters, and now I can't remember. I went off a fucking tangent. Where were we talking about? Hunnam, and there's just something with these.
We're talking about like the
characters.
characters, the Seven Samurai thing.
It's
so
like
they
the
don't have to do
meeting
it. You said
introduction.
You could cut
Oh,
the blood axe.
So right, because she's the first one that tells her origin, right, to that old guy who we never see again, and then the whole
Yes.
movie's like that, where it's origin. So hopefully in part 2, my worry is they show that teaser for part 2, and there was like a scene of Jaimin Hunsu in the past. So I'm like, why is there more origin stuff? But cool, we might get that. So she's telling her origin, right? And I don't mind this. It's pretty much just Gamora's origin, right? Of they show up, kill the planet, take her over, and she becomes the daughter of Thanos. Like, that's what it is. It's this guy who's Thanos, and she's the daughter. Okay, cool. And it's this cut of, and we had to find someone to mate, because if you have someone you love, they'll always watch you. Smash cut to 2 seconds later, him just dead on the ground. Like, and it wasn't, it's not nothing bad. The scene, I just like, I gotta laugh at it a little bit. It's just like, we just met her husband and dead. Gone. just done. And it's fine because she's telling the story, but I just got to giggle at it. I was like, okay.
I laughed so hard because, like, in that moment too, Shane and I are watching it, and she's like, "Oh, I bet this character is gonna come back around," and I'm like, "No, he's gonna fucking die." And like, as I said it, it goes to the next frame, and he's just on the ground. So it was like the timing of it was just so hysterical.
And just like, same thing, like, it's just weird. Like, why do you? I don't know if there is that in a longer cut, or like if Shay's reason that would make more sense. Why do you even need to introduce her having a husband if he's just gonna die right away?
And it's not like she's like having PTSD about him like throughout the film. Like if you watch like past that point, at no point would you imagine that she like had a past relationship. Like it's not like it's a haunting thing that like built her character to be who she is. It was just
it's not like, and I thought it might be like a forced marriage, and I don't know if it was that because
they seemed happy together, like they were embracing, and
but, like,
they even
is he-
explain the reasoning.
Is he also like a child of war, or is he just like a straight up Nazi piece of shit she fell in love with? Though that's the one thing.
Probably, yeah.
No,
I
which
would imagine.
one?
I imagine the second one.
Okay.
Like he's just fucking
Yeah.
He's just fucking Empire. Let's do it.
So like, would she have split off if he didn't die? I don't know. And like the origin was good enough. They had some war stuff going on, so I don't know.
Right.
It did its job.
I didn't love the origin, honestly. I in hindsight, like I guess you have this tie on how she is a badass. Like that does make sense because if she's just a farmer girl, like how does she, dismantle all those soldiers in the barn? Like other than just being, I guess a lumber. Like she's toned from working in the field and very strong from that. But like how does she have all this fighting skill? So for that reason, I'm okay with it. But I like. I did like the opening of it. Of it was very just grounded. We met the village, very horny village. They just all want to reproduce and just just
Like
clap
you
cheeks.
said, let us fog. Like first 5 minutes, yeah, just like in tonight. Yeah, and then like there
And
was
the
that.
fact it was fucking Yellow Jacket guy. It was just
Yeah.
even funnier. He's wearing this fucking Amish beard, but
And like, which was just such a weird. So that guy that was named Den, she was banging, right?
they really are like implying, or like they're implying that everybody just wanted them to clap cheeks because they're just, I don't know, the most fit to do so. It was very weird. They don't even talk to each other at any point in the movie.
No, but then I swear at one point the character that the girl who's the blonde girl, I can't remember. She's like the one that almost gets assaulted. She's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
"Oh, I was walking by Den's barracks and I heard some sounds of pleasure." And I thought she was going to say that, and Sophia Patel's character was going to be a little off put, like, "Oh, he went with another woman." Like that's what I thought was going to happen because we didn't see them talk, we didn't see a scene. So I thought, okay, there's maybe a crush, but he's like, he's just a man whore, whatever. It's like okay, but then she's like, ha ha ha. But like she didn't even say like yes or no. So I'm like, was that you he was banging? Like, and I'm insinuating, yeah, that like he banged her, I guess. But like, what happened in between? Like they had their meeting. They banged, then she went back to go talk to the old guy who they had this fucking like cover, but it's like if Sophia Patel's butt ass naked, the guy's still just gonna like it's just a see-through sheet. Like what is
I
this?
know.
What is this coverage that's
said
going
that
on here?
too.
So, and this is what I was saying to Emily, where it's like they're talking about this Den guy, and the guy later on comes to him and is like, "Oh, like Den, he was looking for you," and she's like, "Oh, what does Den want me?" Like, "Oh, I don't know." So at first I was like, "Oh, I guess maybe this is a guy trying to set his friend up with her or something." But then they're trying to insinuate now that they have something going on, and which was so weird. I was like, "Okay, they're setting up a love triangle, classic, right? Happens in all these movies." What happens? This fucking Den guy doesn't even go on the mission. He just stays at the farm. So it's like, and I guess maybe that's in part 2. Maybe is that there's gonna be like a love triangle that she was like. She's been with Den for like I feel like they're like seeing each other, or maybe they're just friends with benefits, and now she's falling in love with, even though they're trying to insinuate that she's falling in love with, I can't remember the coward's name.
Gunnar or Gunnar or something.
I like that actor. I just feel like there was not enough even to imply they were falling in love, either than like other than some like longing looks. It's just like
Yeah.
this whole love story so far, I'm not feeling either way.
No.
Maybe part 2 will be different, but whether it's a trifecta, her with one, I don't know. It's just not working.
For every love that they introduced for her or potential lover, I thought was just such a waste. Like with the flashback one, he dies instantly. Check mark that one. Den is there and they don't do absolutely anything. They don't even talk to each other. I thought that was an absolute waste. And with Gunyar, whatever the hell his name is, man, like why the fuck was he even on the trip? Like I get.
Because he has a
I guess at
connection.
the
No,
end,
he has a connect. No, he has a connection to that Blood Axis. Remember, he sold to him, so that's why they need him to connect them with. The
okay,
Blood
you
Axe
got me
people.
there, but like, fuck, I don't know. I
You weren't
like
a good
the actor's
fan, were you?
okay, but I just for his character, I'm like, man, what a like. I felt like the Noble at the end when he's like, everyone, makes sense for them to be here, but why are you here? But I guess he does save them in the end, so I'm just giving him a hard time. But he just seemed like a fucking fish out of water, like so uncomfortable with every situation they're in. But oh
did
my gosh, where was I
appreciate-
going?
oh, go ahead, Gunnar love
how we
triangle.
started with that.
Den.
So that's what it was with the opening, and just because I was saying how I didn't love her whole backstory actually, and like it fits for her having the military skill, but I did like the whole setup of the villager thing, but like it, maybe you can correct me here. It seems like she had been a part of that village for like what, less than 2 years, because she says 2 seasons. I imagine that's 2 like crop seasons, so maybe 2 years in that sense. But the way that it's set up, it almost seems like she's been a part of the village like her whole life, and then up until it's revealed that she's not exactly who she says she is. She's just like, it seems like she is a lifelong member of that village, and then until we get her backstory, she's just been there for a very short amount of time. She has this like adopted type father dynamic thing. I don't know, like it was working in the moment, but then as soon as all that was revealed, it just totally did not make sense to me. And it actually makes me like that whole opening sequence a lot less, just knowing that, because it just seemed, I don't know. Again, maybe I'm just being a little too hypercritical here, but it just really did not make sense for her motivation to just, I don't know, end up on where she was, and then it was just a short pit stop in to carry on with her main goal, which was just I don't know, be a rebel and bring down the enemy there. So
Yeah, see, that was one I was just kind of fine. That's fine.
yeah.
She's on the run. She's found this community. Who knows how long a season is for them because it's space world. So who knows? And then I guess she's just like they talk about the other guy being a coward, but she was like, unless that girl's gonna get assaulted, she was ready to bounce too. You know?
Oh
She was-
yeah,
She
100%.
was like literally like getting her horse or whatever ready. Like she was gone, and she literally just said, "Oh, like I can't be here. Like these people are gonna die, and I got to save myself." I was like, "Geez, okay." Like I don't actually know if we needed that wrinkle. I would have been, but I don't know. Maybe the. I really don't know. I don't know if I needed that wrinkle from her. I feel like you could just had her stay there fight. I liked her being like these people just saw them get executed and they think they can make a deal like they're goners. So I did like she was using that aspect of why would you think like they just killed your two leaders? Why would anybody think, "Oh, we can work really hard and they'll find the value?" It's like no, and I like that she's seen that before, but I feel like even then they didn't need to establish she was part of the army. I just liked her being that smart to know, no, this is not going to go our way. We got to get out of here. But I wish it just cut that and just got her to like just fighting because we already have like the kind of coward character over there. We don't need another one. And like I said, if that girl doesn't get assaulted that night, I'm assuming just gone, or would she like turn around? I don't know. So it didn't really work for me in that moment, even though I liked the character for the most part. But to me, I liked the tension of. We meet some characters. I like the night where we're all just gonna get it on. I'm liking the interactions going on with friendly people. I like when their version of the Mother World Nazis show up. I was a little underwhelmed by those Guardian people, whatever, with the big hats. I thought they had no aura. They looked very cool. When we saw them.
The red people, right? Yeah.
But they're just moving around like regular people and they're writing stuff. Like when I saw them, like, oh, these are really cool. But like they're just moving around like dudes in costume. Like that's to me where it's just like not that they had to have this because it's a big role, but it's like the way Hugo Weaving plays V in V for Vendetta, where it's like you can't see his face, you can only hear him, but he has such a gravitas. You don't need that level because they're not main characters, but they just felt like people in costumes in cosplay. It didn't feel like anything like, oh, these are cool.
Yeah.
And I guess there are just like they're just writing like their Bible. I guess they're just writing things down. But I was like, okay, no longer cool. Like it was like a Knights of Ren moment where it's like, oh, the trailers and images we saw of these characters were much better than when we got them in the film, and now I don't care too much about them. So.
It really felt like just their appearance and the fact that they were with like the nobles party when they get on the planet. I was getting like Bene Gesserit vibes of like who are these individuals? They had cool. Like I did like their designs of everything. They had interesting like masks where you couldn't see their face, like you were saying, but. Yeah, they really didn't do anything, and we saw a couple get just murked later on. So yeah, really no gravitas, like you said, no presence. Unlike the Bene Gesserit, which again, doing that Dune comparison, not that they're in the same caliber by any means, but.
Let's take our second ad break, and we'll be right back with some more Rebel Moon. And we're back. But as I was saying that I like the intensity when they show up. I like the whole crops thing of they're going to lie and say, hey, we only have enough for ourselves. We have some reserves, but let's not say that because they'll want more. You have the guy who, like, I don't know, decides to say something, which is like, again, happens in many movies. I wish they just made the argument before a little more heated because it just felt like he was like, I'll definitely listen to what you have to say. And they're like, well, we could provide. It's like, all right, I guess we got to go this way for the movie. But the first act I liked. I liked setting up the community, the village, like whatever. I really liked Jimmy and the girl. Like he pulls up. Like the rest of the goons and stuff, they all suck. They're just generic bad guys. But he's helping. They're shooting him. Very much like AI robot videos we see today. People are making them like poking with those sticks and stuff. But I liked this. I liked that they shot him, and then later on when it comes back and they tell him to shoot, very cool moment. Him just holding that gun, and he like shoots it off to the side. I love when he talks about the girl and how like courage is gone and he used to fight, but yada yada, and she touches the face and leaves that like warmth, like all that stuff.
Yeah.
I like not that it was perfect. It's one of the best movies, but like I was really into the opening. Like I said, Act 1 of the movie. I was like, okay, I'm digging most of this, and then I think once we leave, there's some issues. But yeah, same thing, Jimmy. That's definitely a highlight for the movie, even though it was a little amount. I was very much enjoying that character to the point where I was disappointed that he was on the whole movie because it's just like this is really cool what they're setting up. Again, that's why I would take less characters and just put him along for the ride, because he clearly helped. I just love that he like fucking ran away after.
Yeah. As soon as he gets introduced, like it's pretty evident that I don't know, he just seems pretty wholesome, like pretty
Yeah.
heartwarming. He's not like the iRobot. It's not like when the iRobots go all red that they're the villains anymore. Like he did seem like he has something like that. And I like the little lore that they're building around it, on how like after the king died, they just put down their guns and they like they're not violent anymore. Like I did like all those seeds of lore that they're introducing. I love that scene amongst that villager girl and the robot. Like, and she gives him the flower crown, and then to the point that he takes out that soldier later on, and then just fucks off. Like I loved all those moments. And then the movie went on, and we just had so much stuff going on. I completely forgot about him until the end scene, and he's got these fucking antlers now. Like he's totally modded out his gear. I was just, again, this is something in hindsight, but now it's just like I feel like it's bringing down the movie. I'm like, I can't believe like we just didn't have him on the adventure. Like that would have been so much more interesting than getting fucking Blood Axe that just dies by the fucking turret gunner way later on.
Yeah,
I was like, that's Ray Fisher? Oh my god, I can't wait to see what he's gonna do in this movie.
expect like I don't know. I don't know what I can say here because I go on podcast. For a guy that really went to bat for Zack Snyder, I was really thinking he was going to have a much larger presence in this film. And it felt like he pretty much just had a cameo. I thought, and especially they talk about the blood axes the whole time. They set them up. And it just reminds, and it's funny because it's like a reoccurring thing. I know people defend it and people said, oh, if we got part 2, but it reminded me a lot of Darkseid and Justice League where they set him up and then we get that flashback and he just gets fucking destroyed. And you're like, oh, this is Darkseid, eh? Like he just got lost on his first outing here on Earth. And I get it because, oh, this is young Darkseid. He's going to grow up. But this is how I feel like they're talking about Blood Axe. And one, he he gets kidnapped with the rest of them, and then 2, when he goes to fight, he died. Like the first battle we're with him, he dies. And like, I get that this shit was up there shooting other things, but why did he have to run up there with his spear and take it out? He misses the first time he tries to like, it just made him feel like a nothing character. Like now, like I don't have any hype for. Again, it was a Knights of Ren situation where him and his sister. These are the leaders of the rebellion. It's like if we met Han Solo and when they leave Tatooine, his ship got exploded. Like, well, thanks, Han. Like it's just like,
or Greedo like shoots him instead of all of his badassery.
They shoot each other. They shoot each other, and Han Solo dies in the bar. He helped them get a ship, and they have Chewbacca now. But that's about it. And it was. Because I literally were around because he got shot twice, but I'm like, well, armor, he's a badass, whatever. But then when his face, like, he like fell against the fucking ship and his face was just like open eyed, and I'm like, oh my god, is he actually dead here? And I like wound back. I'm like, yeah, he just got shot twice, and yeah, he's dead. He's gone. Blood Axe, leader of the rebellion, over with. And again, we meet him, we get a quick origin, some back and forth with his sister. They get kidnapped and he's gone. It's just like, what? How can I get that invested in the character? And I guess it just wasn't cool enough either for me because it's like died, like the way he died too. It's just, but yeah, Blood Axes that way I didn't go for. Like I said, I could have done without the 300 guy, who's in that. Yeah, and then now we're stuck with Blood Axe's like right hand lady. Like she's just like adopted into the crew now. It's like she's not interesting at all. Like zero. Zero. Like at least like have his sister there.
Yeah, well, we'll meet up with the sister right in the next film, I'm sure.
And like, we'll get here because I feel like you weren't a fan of the character just by looking at you. If I'm wrong, Charlie Hunnam's just like dead, right?
Yeah, he must be. Oh yeah, because Gunyar or whatever his name, he right in the head. And yeah, I was not a fan of Charlie Hunnam's character.
Yeah, I can tell you
in this movie. I don't like. I was excited knowing that he was in this. This is like what else have I seen him in? He was in the biker show Sons of Anarchy. Seen like one season of that. He was good in that. And like just hearing positive things about Charlie Hunnam, like I was looking forward to just seeing his inclusion and what his character would be in this. And I feel like as soon as he was on screen, it didn't seem like he was playing like. Well, he had an accent, I guess, but it just felt like it was Charlie Hunnam, like what,
I think that's his natural
plucked out of Sons of Anarchy and just like put in here with his different accent, like just like his look wise though, like his.
Maybe it's not his actual accent. I don't know. Maybe I can't remember if he's British or not. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll retract.
I'll pull it up here. What do we got? We got British actor. There you go.
Okay, so he's not whatever. Was he supposed to be like Irish here, Scottish?
Yeah,
or
some
something, some sort of
deviation
mix.
of the British tongue, but like he didn't have. Like he had enough for me to be interested in what was going on, and it's funny because I feel like I kind of peaked on interest with him when he was saying to Cora there of like, yeah, no, like let's just leave this life behind. Like, I'm gonna drop this
Way
off,
to
and then we're
be a
gonna be all
hero.
gang. And he just betrays everyone. I'm like, man, I am so disappointed with his inclusion here because up until that point he doesn't fucking do anything like at
See,
all.
yeah.
He shoots the
He
creepy
saves no.
dude
He
in
saves
the
Cora's
bar.
life. He does save Cora's life.
When's that? In the
Because
bar,
the
right?
big guy's gonna shoot her and he headshots him. So he does like
Yeah.
I'm assuming she got it, but he does save her life. So you got that going
I've
on.
seen her dodge so many lasers up until that point. I imagine it
Yeah.
would have just gone slow mo and she would have turned her head and shot him anyways. But you're
See,
right.
I was the reverse of you where I liked the turn because I hated the rest of the stuff. I like his performance. I just hated how they met him and he's a full-on criminal and they're like, "Oh, you're going to join us?" Like, "Yeah. I got nothing else to do." And I was like, "What? Why?"
And like right
he's the
before that,
first
they're like,
one, too.
they're like, "How are we gonna get to this planet?" And then he's
Yeah.
like, "My ship's at port. Let's go." It's like, okay, that works.
And because they're like, "We can't pay you," and he's like, "Well, whatever I can like earn along the way will be worth it." It's like, fuck, like what? Like, and that was my issue too. Of like, oh, I gotta make this drop off, and the whole like, well, I'm ready to leave this life. So that's why for me, it's a twofer. I was happy with him being a turncoat because like, okay, all this stuff makes sense of him like flagging off because he just wants to get a bigger payout from the mother world. So like, okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Why he's just like, oh, you don't got to pay me because in the long run, he's gonna get a big paycheck from the bad guys. So that all worked for me. Now though, in retrospect, I was like, why didn't any one of them suspect? Like, why did none of them ask? Like, I'm not trying to make the comparison, but we already brought them up, so I will. And I feel like they've. I feel like Snyder looked at this character like, I'm gonna make Han Solo, but what if he was bad, right? It's the reverse of Han starts bad, and he turns good. That's what this is, and he's bad the whole time. But at least Han, the characters Obi-Wan, Luke would never go, oh, he's a dark side or Empire spy because he's like, I want this money, I want this. So you go, okay, he wants something. For Charlie Hunnam to be the first guy, just be like, well, looks like you guys need some help, and he seems like he's just like a criminal bounty hunter type of guy, or just somewhere. It's like, but why? Like I just feel like they never gave him a strong enough reason to join the team. For most people, like the slave guy, that made sense because okay, they're freeing him and he wants to make a difference. Jaimin Hunsu, like okay, he was a general that's fought them, so that makes sense. The like Jedi type samurai, I was like, I guess she's a do-gooder, but yeah, Hunnam the whole time, like this makes no sense. That's why the
Yeah.
reveal kind of worked a bit better for me. It's not great for me. It's just purely saved on. I enjoy Charlie Hunnam and I think he's charismatic, but then they just fucking get rid of him, and I'm like, wow, what a waste. You know, it's just like it. Like I don't know, it's just
I
not great. But you were happy to see him go.
I was happy to see him go just because we didn't like. Even up until that point, like I don't think there's anything that would have had me excited on like if he survived, what's gonna happen next movie? Like, is he gonna track them down? It's not like he's a badass bounty hunter. Like he just like yeah, he's got a gun, but I don't think anyone would be like fearful. Like Cora would kick his ass in a one-on-one as well as with like the general gun. Like I just feel like all of our characters could just dismantle this guy. So I don't think I would have needed him as being like another antagonist in the next movie.
I guess I just would have liked a returning bad guy because we got Ed Skrein come back, and that's fine. But then we got that other bad guy, and I'm not looking forward to that guy coming up.
Who's
So,
that one?
like the very end boss, like Cora's
Oh, yeah.
adopted dad, where I'm
Yeah.
like, this is not Like I'm not interested at all by this. Like
With his cane.
yeah, and that's like I try not to, but that for me was like an acting thing of just like he just whoever they got doesn't have the right vibe for this, in my opinion. He had more like the squirrely, like Weasley, like Littlefinger type of
He
vibe.
seemed like a number two, not the number
Yes.
one, you know?
And he's the number one. I was like, oh, damn, that sucks.
And even fucking Ed Skrein is a better number two than him.
Yes.
So like he would have been
Yeah.
a number three.
Yeah. So and I didn't mind the whole. I like Korra's way because he had a similar origin to Korra where he's like, I had people on my planet. They came. I fought with them. They killed everybody. And that's when I learned I'm not going to go against history. And I love the line, like, this whole thing here is not even going to be like a cliff note in history. So I liked the reasoning of he was the reverse Korra, where Korra saw, hey, they're going to kill us all. We have to fight. Hunnam's character is, they're going to kill us all. I don't want to be with them. Like, I don't want to be, I don't want to make people that are going to be killed. I don't want to make friends with them or make. So I liked that reasoning, but it's also again, it's not great. It's not like a character I'm going to bat for. It's not a performance. It's just again, I want more, and I just felt like the crew doesn't like. We have the 7, but they don't really interact that much too, because it just feels like it's always them talking to the person recruiting, then they get recruited, and then they're just like an NPC on the side for the whole time, you know. So
No, 100%. I was gonna say something, but it's fleeted me. I don't remember.
How do you feel about the samurai girl spider boss sequence?
Oh yeah, no, I didn't like it as much as I was expecting to like it. Honestly,
Yeah, same.
I don't know. Like the design felt kind of not too extremely cool. I don't like. I liked when she was popping off with her little saber swords, I guess, and just like her whole look, aesthetic, like. I don't know.
Yep.
Again, very much reminded me of like an anime type character.
Very much so, yeah. I really like that actress. So.
Oh yeah, I feel like I don't know. Maybe I have seen her in something, but nothing too.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I was talking to this about Emily. I'm not sure. Have you ever seen Cloud Atlas in your life?
No.
I love that movie, and she's like a main character in that.
Okay.
And I think that's only the other thing I've seen. So I just really like that one performance. But
yeah.
I liked her here. For me, it wasn't the look of the spider. It was just the setup was underwhelming. It was just like they bummed this character, and she's like they're like, oh, I'm like busy, and then they walk to the middle of the city, and the Spider Woman's just in the middle of the city. I'm like, oh, like, and she's kidnapping, like there's just this whole story. The way I thought the Spider character was gonna be, I thought it was gonna be like a crucial thing to the plot, and that I will say is just based on my expectations. So that's not to the movie. I didn't think it was gonna be this mini boss that gets dispatched of quite easily.
Yeah.
So.
Well, like I didn't
Knights
even
of Ren,
really.
Man. Knights of Render.
I don't even remember that she was in it like from the trailer until we did the sucker punch, and then you said, "What's her face?" The actress is the Spider Lady in Rebel
Malone,
Moon. Yeah. So I was kind of looking forward to that of just having this again. You know, I like the uses of Shelob in Lord of the Rings, so I like when we have these spider-like villains, and I think it peaked when they see the web and she's up there like the silhouette holding the child. I think that's what peaked for me. and then you reveal her face. It's like, okay, I don't love this design. Not really scary. And then her like reasoning is like, they're poisoning my air so my eggs aren't hatching. And it's I'm getting flashbacks to Aquaman 2 and the whole pollution storyline. So that didn't really sit too well with me. And even the fight was kind of underwhelming. Not too much slow-mo if I remember correctly, but I don't know. It just didn't seem like a lot was going on too, because it's like there's a group of people around and it's just our samurai chick just one-on-one-ing her. And then she
in a fight
her.
that just wasn't too interesting to me. Like it just was like she gets pinned down, like chop off a leg. She gets pinned down, chop off leg. Like I was waiting for that. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be really exciting, and it just wasn't. It wasn't bad. I don't think it was like, oh, this awful action. It was just like, oh, just okay, standard action scene.
Standard action scene, yeah, and. She just kind of is forgettable, unfortunately, until like the very end when they capture them, and then he's like, "And you, the swordsman that takes out all these generals and their troops because you lost your children." I was like, "Oh yeah, she's there," and like that's the reason why she's there. So it's just like a reoccurring thing with all of our air quote NPC type characters that we got introduced to. Like they just don't really do too much after the introduction. So hopefully in the next part, like we get a lot more moments of them being badasses, because I did like her look. I like her hat. It was very like Van Helsing sort of aesthetic. Another character that just reminded me of like an anime character. So I did like the look, and her sword, like when the swords change color and everything, that was fucking cool. But
you saw like a blue version of that sword a bad guy had one.
Yeah, that was really cool. Got some
no force type thing, so that's a
no. Yeah,
no space magic. I'm surprised, but I was wondering because actually that's a lie though, because remember they show that princess bring that bird back to life.
Oh yeah,
so it was like the most minor thing, and I guess I'm assuming that's what that guy at the cane probably has too, right? He might have some space magic, because I thought it could just be like the sword thing, but so that's all right. I'm interested to see how, because they didn't establish that all these fire sword people have to have a special power to use these swords or something like that, right? So
even that scene in the end, like the way I took that was Buddy was in the back of the tank. That was hard for me to say. The bat the tank.
It's a bat the tank, yeah. Bat the tubes. That's
and
what
then
this one was.
And then he's got like the tubes. He's looking like Neo in the real world.
Yes.
And then I took it like his memories essentially was going into this like place. That's where he conversed with Buddy, or Like, how did you take it that way too, or he got like actually like his physical body is actually on that that fucking snowy plane thing, and then when he
No, it's
breaks it, he
just
goes
I
back.
think it's just like a forced call situation.
Yeah,
Well,
okay. Because the way you said it earlier, it seemed like he was. You read it as he was just fully recovered and he's standing there in his attire again.
yeah, no, but I feel like is he not going to be recovered when he gets out of that tank?
Oh, he will be 100%.
Yeah, yeah.
He'll have
So
a
like,
scar, but yeah,
yeah, maybe like a minor one. So yeah, no, I think it was just his mental aura
yeah.
was there.
So then, where the fuck is that guy, right?
I guess he's also in another machine, pumped up to like a aura
Yeah.
machine, and he's hiding out. And he wants his daughter found and stop the rebellion. And they literally just call them rebels, just like Star Wars, which is just like I know it's called Rebel Moon, but there were like there's rebels, there's
Rebel
there,
scum.
yeah, there's a few other just like exact quote for quote words. That's like, oh, this
Mhm.
is just Star Wars. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Well, again, like even like the Imperial type villains, like just straight up Nazi garb and everything. So definitely hitting that same note there. But yeah, what was the other character? Oh, the Griffin Rider, like my name. I laughed so hard by the end of that scene because like yeah, it was a cool setup of him like just working off his debts to this guy that just basically owns him. He's chipping away and he's seems like he has a lot of honor, like he doesn't want to go against his word on what he said. And
It's like a worm.
he's sorry, say it again.
It's like a worm.
He's like Orm.
I got a
Yeah.
debt to fill. You know.
Exactly. I'm going back to jail as soon as we free Atlantis. But like I just laughed because the whole thing was like, yeah, you got to pay all 300,000 whatever the money is, and it's like, no, we don't got that. Well, I'm a betting man, so if he can break that Griffin, and in my mind, I'm like, why the fuck does this party even have to be here for this event to happen? Like, I feel like at any point, Blacksmith guy could have been like, you know what, I'm going to make you a deal. I could break that Griffin for you, and if I don't, I'm just going to have a life debt with you. Like, I will never, because he's paying off his debt, right? Like it's not, like, it is a finite time for when he'll be a free man. Like, I just feel like he could have said that exact same thing, because he just did it so easily. Like, it's like he's been, like, training for this moment his entire life, just breaks this Griffin, like, instantly, goes on this adventurous little like Harry Potter type moment, and then we get that slow-mo shot of him get launched off of it, but then he goes and runs, and then he's like in front of the sun, it's super slow-mo, and then he lands, very Bonnie moment, comes back, just gives it to the guy, and then of course it kills him.
Yeah.
I was really hoping that was going to show up like later on. You know, like a cool mount to
Must be in
riding
part
on.
2, right? He's gonna call
Yeah,
it.
you would hope so.
It must be, yeah. I think that for me, I just didn't. I get it because these happen a lot in these type of movies. Like Qui-Gon Jinn does, he does that because what is the bet? He bets that if Anakin wins, he can like free one of them, and then if he loses, it's his whole ship, right?
Yeah.
But for me, it's like risky bet, but still like, okay, it's a ship. Like worst case scenario, you could probably try and find a way to get off that planet something, or you just not keep your word. And maybe that's what the case is here. But the fact that these three characters, like especially Korra and the other guy, this village is about to get killed. They got to get back there. So the fact that, oh, if we lose this bet, we will just become slaves for you. I was like, I don't buy this. I'd be like, I'm not doing that deal. Like
And they never even met this guy before. Like, they don't
Yeah.
know that he's a Griffin Rider. It's just like, can you do it?
Yeah.
I can
Actually,
do
he
it.
just
Okay,
fell
yeah,
off.
let's do this.
He just fell off. I was like, well, you're a slave now. Like, I just didn't like that. To me, was just too big of a stretch. Of like, if you lose this bet, what, you're just gonna let all these men, women, children just get fucking destroyed and ravaged by the mother world? It's like, no, I'm like you guys are careless people. It wasn't. I wish it was something else. Even if it was one of them, like I'll take one of you.
Take
Then
Charlie
that's
Hunnam.
fine, yeah. Or even the coward guy, like maybe that'd be part of his redemption, right? Like
Right.
he volunteers because he got two of his friends killed. Like, no, I'll stay.
Yeah.
Like if but like all three of you are gonna be slaves if he loses. Like you said, this guy you've never met who could just be a fucking imbecile. Like it was too much of a stretch. It was an eye roll. It's much like when Charlie Hunnam joined the team of like, I don't know. Whatever money I make along the way will be worth it. It's like, okay, this is just too easy. You know, like I said, the general, that Jaimin, I agree with because it's like he just wants revenge, right? Samurai lady, I agree with because she feels like she's just like a vigilante warrior that wants to do good out there. The Blood Axe people, I buy because they're rebellion. But Hunnam, and I guess like the slave guy, yeah, sure, he'll break out and help you. But I just didn't like the setup of it. So
Yeah, I was getting like from Tarek, I think that was his name. I was getting
is that the
major.
300 guy?
Yeah, yeah, the dude with no shirt, the Griffin Breaker. I was getting major like Zank vibes, which is the character from Dungeons and Dragons. I can never say his name. The guy from Bridgerton. something Jean Page.
Yeah, John Page, whatever. Yeah, that. Everyone wants. His
I was
ball
just
on
like, he just seemed like very like I don't know, he's very chiseled man. He looks great without a shirt, and then he's just badass. You know, he's pounding away at that fucking at the blacksmith anvil, and then he's like, I can tame it. He goes up to it very majestically. He just tames it, and like he's just like this perfect specimen essentially, which is like basically what Zank's character is from Dungeons and Dragons.
Of us now. You're gonna show that I'm better and you're better. That whole whatever that fucking speech was. I was like, I just wish the bird turned around and just fucking slit his throat, and they're like watching.
They're like, we're slaves now. But yeah, no, that's who I was thinking of. So I was kind of chuckling in that moment, and also just the ridiculousness of like, I can't believe they just made this deal with him, and he just did it so easily. And why wouldn't he just make that deal in the first place if like even without this crew coming to do that? But I don't know. Maybe he didn't know he had the option.
Yeah.
And who's the other one we didn't talk about yet? I guess we mentioned the general. He doesn't really do too much.
Not much. He's a jack dude that wants to fight the mother world, and I think we're gonna learn more about him in part 2 because just like there was flashbacks of him being younger with hair, like a different hairstyle. It's like okay, we're gonna get his full version, but like they set up, and I did like that they were the big boss was like you got to cut that off. Like they can't have him on the team. Like they mention him as being a threat. Like they call him very tactical, and I was like, okay, that's cool. Right away, even within a couple sentences, it's like we didn't get to see him do much. We see him fight, of course, but I like that's like no, he is a good leader. And even in the preview, they're showing him like doing this war speech and stuff. So I hope they show that also in the movie, not just tell us like he's very dangerous, but if it's just him doing a bunch of cool shit, it's like, well, no, like I want him to be a guy that comes up with a great plan or a part of the great plan. We go, oh yeah, this guy was a general. Like I know Cora is the main character, but it doesn't matter. Like, I don't want her to be fully like, yeah, we're going to do this, this, and this. It's like, no, the guy who's the tactical general, he should probably throw his 2 cents in, right? But so hopefully we'll see. I have some faith there. And Jaimin Hunsu, he's always good. He always did good line deliveries. Like, he does play similar characters, but like the good thing is he's always just, they're always good. Like he never like you just know like he'd be like a wide receiver where maybe he's not gonna get every touchdown, but you know he can make some plays. That's Jaimin Hunsu where maybe he's never gonna be the best part of the movie, but you know he's not ever gonna be bad. You're never gonna hire him and be like, oh, this guy's gonna stink up the joint. He'll always show up and deliver.
Yeah, 100%.
You know? Like I'd take him in a GV movie. I would take him in a heartbeat. You know,
fucking hell yeah. I'd get my character. Just
Adrenochrome
beaten up by him.
Kirkland versus Jaimin Hunsu.
I was just as you're talking, I was pulling up his little IMDb here. He was in Gran Turismo. I'm sure he plays a different character in that.
Yeah.
Not some.
I think he's like a race car guy. Yeah.
That's
like I think he's like one of the guys on the sideline. So.
Yeah.
Anything else that you haven't mentioned? Anything specific? Characters, scenes? I think I've hit it all for my most part. And like I guess we didn't talk about like we danced around it. They just set up that it was like I said the Gamora thing. Her dad was a Thanos type character. Adopts her. She goes, I don't know why he adopted me. She breaks apart because she realizes the error of the ways of Mother World. And then the guy's obsessed with getting his daughter back. But like I said, I just felt that actor had really no chutzpah or the way he was directed because he was younger in the flashback. So when he was turned to us, like, oh, we're gonna get the older version. Who's this actor? I'm like, is it Jeffrey Dean Morgan? Is it Patrick Wilson? Like, I'm just trying to think of like who Zack Snyder worked with, right? Like Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Patrick Wilson. Like, I'm trying to think what Zack Snyder staple could this be? And then it was just that guy that was already like. He felt like the guy you hired just for flashbacks, but it's like, oh no, he's the main guy. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll watch part 2 and be like, oh, this guy is really good, and we just didn't see it. It just was not a hype. So. Just it didn't get me hyped, but
that beard.
You know.
They thought like the beard and like the big black cloak was gonna do something, and it definitely did not.
Yeah.
Even the flashback, like I don't know, he just seemed like a soldier, not like the main general guy that's supposed to be this tyrant, right? That's just making planets of people run in fear. Like he really didn't stand out at all. And even the scene of him like approaching the younger version of Korra and like holding the gun, it really wasn't doing anything for me. Like I didn't feel threatened or like intimidated by any means. Whereas like Jeffrey Dean Morgan as a villain, like fuck, you feel that just like sitting on my couch eating my popcorn. I feel like I tremble in my boots, but by no means was I getting that from Laddie here. Don't even know his name, but like you said, hopefully he really impresses in part 2.
Yeah, I think that's all I got.
I got nothing else. Yeah,
got nothing else. Kirkland, what would you rate this movie?
This is a tricky one. might be harsh, but like thinking about just am I going to be remembering like specifically this movie? I know I'm going to be watching part 2 in a few months here, but like a year from now, like am I really going to be thinking about all these scenes and characters from this movie? I don't really think so. And enjoyment wise, there is some stuff in here that I did enjoy, but a lot of it, again, like I just really didn't like the whole pattern of just jumping from one character to the other and then kind of forgetting about the other character. Didn't like some of those, just I don't know, just certain choices here and there. But I do like the scale that they're going for in this movie. I'm gonna go a 6.25 maybe right now. I didn't want to go 6.5 because spoiler alert, that's what I gave Aquaman 2, and I definitely had a more fun time watching that movie. But it just seems a little too harsh for me to drop it at a 6 right now. But who knows? Maybe you'll one up me or one down me. You're muted, by the way. You'll have to undo that.
Yeah, I'm just a little above you at the 6.5. It's almost the same method though, where I gave Aquaman a 7 and a 6.5. There you go. I still like they're pretty equivalent because I think some of the shortcomings of this hurt it, but then I also think that there's just some stuff that's just like is just like straight bad. Like other than a husband moment, there wasn't anything in here like I laughed out loud because this is really cheesy over the top. Where Aquaman, I definitely had that happen, right? So
yeah.
But yeah, no, 6.5. I think at one point I was like a 7, but I always say I give 7s to movies that are like, I'm going to go back and even if it's not the greatest, there's something about it that I know I will rewatch. Case in point, I always use it as an example, Brendan Fraser and Elizabeth Hurley's Bedazzled. I don't think it's the greatest movie. I don't think it's the greatest comedy, but I probably watch it at least once every couple of years because like, you know what, I just really enjoy that. And that's where for me 7s are maybe critically or overall it doesn't meet all the matches, but there's some je ne sais quoi that I want to come back to, even if it's like a performance, right? Even if there's just like one role where it's like, oh, the movie's all right, but I want to watch this actor play this role. I don't have that here, so that's where, and maybe it'll retroactively go higher when I see part 2, and sometimes that can help, but yeah, not a 6.5 is where I am at. I don't think it's as bad as people say, but I don't think it's a great first step in the universe. But again, it's just like it's a movie that's out there. So we'll see.
Yeah,
we passed it. Yeah, no, I would. Again, I've seen so many worse movies this year, in my opinion. I'd rather watch this. So yeah, let us know. Discord, YouTube, Twitter, all the good jazz. What you thought about it. We'll be here for sure for part 2. Director's cut, we'll see when that drops, and I'll talk to Kirkland, see where his mind frame's at, and we'll talk to Taylor, because Taylor, he's like, oh, I'm not going to watch it because they said it was better than Star Wars, and fuck that, but then he's still watching, so whatever. But yeah, we'll see, but at least part 2 will for sure be there. So till then, I'll not be boring.
Bye-bye.